Today I am out on the trail exploring an area I've actually never been to before, and I'm in search of the remnants of an old copper mine. Now, this mine up here in the hills started in the early 1900s by the Encinitas mining company, and from my research it was one of the largest producers of copper at the beginning of the 1900s. And when the demand for copper spiked during the First World War, this mine became very important, probably even before the US entered the war, since we were providing equipment and stuff, you know, to the Brits and other allies. So I'm gonna press on down the trail and hopefully we can see some pretty cool stuff today. Paralleling a lot of this trail is this small little creek, which we've had some rain lately, but it's looking pretty healthy right now. And I believe this creek, as mentioned, follows a lot of the trail, or I guess the trail follows a lot of the creek as it meanders around the edge of this mountain. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but the name of this trail is the Copper Creek Trail, which does allow horses. So that'd be kind of cool to see a horse going around back here. Not sure if we'll see that today, but I'm getting all sorts of sounds. You kind of hear the propellers of an airplane flying overhead. Off to my right, you can hear the creek babbling. This trail kind of follows along parallel to that creek, which, as we'll talk about later, was a pretty important natural feature that was utilized by the miners of the old copper mine out this way. All right, it looks like we've arrived at the site of the former copper mill. They have this small sign here that reads Encinitas Copper Mining and Smelting Company. In November 1899, W. Hector McKinnon, an early settler of San Elijo and Cardiff, and business partner, incorporated the Encinitas Copper Mining and Smelting Company, transferring the 4 full mining claims and the Encinitas mill site, a total of 5 acres, to the new company. And that is a really cool old picture there. Looks like this photo was taken between 1901 and 1905, it says. And it's kind of cool. It gives a little bit more of the day-to-day on the mine. It reads, around the same time, reports emerged that work was progressing rapidly on the new copper claims near Encinitas. The scene surrounding the mines was described as a hive of activity. Tents on the hillside surrounding the mines, accommodating teams of miners, appeared like a small tent city. A building had been erected for a boarding house. A night and day shift worked to sink a shaft, while a gang of men worked at making a better approach to the mine for the removal of ore by trains. Until then, processed ore was hauled by horse-drawn wagons to Cardiff and loaded on railroad cars. So it looks like just down this hill there is the former site of the mine, and it appears you can still see some of the ruins of a dam. And I remember reading that they built this dam here to build up a water supply so they could use that and the water for cleaning the ore as part of the mining process. So we're going to go ahead and take our time getting down there and see what else is left. Here I'm a little bit down closer to the dam, actually standing right above it. But you can see the water rushing down the hillside kind of naturally falling down into this, again, man-made dam, probably from the early 1900s, kind of built there with a curve, you can see. And this is beautiful. This is very peaceful. I do remember reading that the actual mine shafts themselves were dynamited long ago and closed up for safety reasons, which is probably good. But it is cool to come down here to this site, see the remnants of this old dam, and just listen to the water rush by it. It really is quite beautiful. Okay, now I'm down here actually standing on the dam. Though I wouldn't recommend swimming in this water. I'm sure people have, and I'm sure people do. It's kind of nice. It actually creates this still coming off that waterfall. And there in the center, probably about 4 to 5 feet deep, maybe a little bit deeper there towards the edge. And then here it's actually really clear. You can see how that tapers off to maybe a few inches deep. Runs down to another unintended waterfall as it's spilling over this portion of the dam and running down. Of course, what would be a hike through nature without seeing signs of humans? Huge tire there. But this is really pretty. So I hiked down and around the dam following the curvature of the creek down here to this little embankment. And there's this neat little rope swing. That's cool. Looks like it has a Henry David Thoreau quote on it. It reads, "I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude." And isn't that the truth? This here just above the dam is one of the tailings piles. And that is essentially a leftover pile or the remnants of rocks and things that came out of the mine once they were separated from any of the precious metals that they were looking for. So anytime you go explore old mines, you'll often see things like this, which again, if you've ever seen them, it's known as a tailings pile. And usually they're a good indication of where a mine is or once was. And that makes me wonder if this giant hole in the ground was once the mine entrance, which I'm assuming it was. Again, they were blasted out and sealed years ago for safety reasons, but I imagine that this was at one time the entrance to the copper mine here. Okay, we're gonna go down this tailings pile. I'm gonna try not to slip, which is definitely easier said than done. And we're gonna continue down the trail a little bit to see if there are any other ruins or things to check out. Well, here we go. Just a few steps up the trail from where we were is another sign talking about some of the history, specifically about the Encinitas mining district, which we're hiking throughout right now. It reads, in 1864, a copper deposit was discovered near the Encinitas Ranch along Copper Creek, appropriately named, on the southwest corner of Denk Mountain, which Denk Mountain, for reference, is just west of us where we're at right now. Over the next 30 years, prospectors developed 4 nearby copper mines producing low-grade copper ore. The area became known as the Encinitas Mining District. In 1917, the mines were shut down permanently. The shafts have since been blasted closed for safety, and evidence of the mine remains primarily in the surrounding stone walls and exposed tailing piles, just like we talked about. Really interesting. And there really is just a whole series of trails. It is beautiful out here, especially this time of year. It's not too hot yet, so you can come out and enjoy it. Definitely still bring water, but you know, you're not gonna be dying of heat stroke 10 minutes into your walk. And this looks like some more ruins. Definitely man-made, to include what I'm standing on here. I'm not sure what this was. Looks like a solid cement wall. And yeah, I'm not sure what's up here. Let's go check it out. Huh. All right, well, here we see another man-made structure. Check out the bolts on that. That's cool. Again, not sure what the role these foundations would have played, or if it was just a small structure built on them. But again, not far from the mine entrance and the dam over there, we see a lot of these cement foundations for structures that would have once played a role here in the copper mining. Here we see another bit of ruins. This almost looks like it's a portion of a wall, presumably for another structure that was here, which I'm not sure, it kind of drops right off. If this was a structure, it would have been built right into the hillside. At first I thought that was actually part of a chimney, which it's not. And again, this is just a small piece of whatever the structure once was, just sitting right here into this hillside. And this whole area is it's not really mountainous, I guess, but it's definitely somewhat arduous terrain with a lot of rises and dips. And I'm not sure how easy it would have been to get some of these rocks. I mean, these were probably sourced locally. Some of that cement is, a little bit newer, maybe towards the end of the years of the mine operating. But it could not have been easy to build structures up here by any means. All right, well, that's my exploration of the Encinitas mining district. Today, there's just some remnants, brick walls, foundations, the old dam, which is pretty cool, that are left here along the hillside. And anybody who takes this trail going on a hike, or maybe taking your bike or even a horse, it's cool to just kind of stop and take a moment to take in those ruins, and just to picture how bustling this would have been when it was an active copper mine with the miners' tents pitched along the side of the hill. It must have been quite a sight. But today it's, a peaceful preserve where you can walk around, enjoy some of that history, and also still take in nature. But that's going to be it for this one. Now it's on to the next journey.